Donald Trump's first 100 days back in the White House, they feel less like a presidency and frankly, more like a hostile takeover, from gutting federal agencies to stacking the courts with loyalists to openly attacking the free press and blocking transparency. Your president, Donald J. Trump, has been quite busy. He already hinted that he wants to fire the Fed chair, said he might not honor future elections if he loses, and he's threatening media outlets with license reviews. This is not draining the swamp. This is the swamp. And it's flooding the system with unchecked power. And it matters. All of this matters because democracy, it doesn't fall all at once. It's not like in the movies, it's slow and deliberate and steady and insidious. And it falls one broken rule at a time, one ignored norm at a time. And family, we watching this in real time. And if you think it won't affect you are wrong. Because when the rules break for one person, the whole thing starts to break, and eventually we all pay the price. Joining me now to discuss all of this is my dear friend, Dr. Wilmer Leon. He's a political scientist in the political science department at Morgan State University. He is a brilliant man, somebody I've known for now, I gotta say, decades. That makes me feel so old, brother. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing great. Mark. How are you?
I can't complain as far as the show goes, as far as my family goes, as far as everything, but my hairline and these grays go, I'm good. But when it comes to the last 100 days, I want to pull my hair out. I do, because I expected this to be awful, but Trump has exceeded my expectations. Talk to me.
Well, first of all, you mentioned you saw this as a hostile takeover. I thought you were going to say a hostage crisis, because our democracy is definitely being held hostage. And the other thing I thought about in listening to your intro, well, first of all, let me quickly say, Night School. I love the title of the show because we're both professors, and we know this is where the smartest people come to class.
Yes.
This is where the folks who really want to learn come to class.
So true. So true.
So the other thing that came to mind was, in fact, I'm writing a piece right now on this very issue, and I'm calling it "The Marketing of America and the Bankruptcy of Democracy," because Hemingway's "The Sun Also Rises." I think Jim asks his buddy, I think his name is Mark, "How did you go bankrupt?" And Mark says, "Slowly, then suddenly." And that's what happens to the decline of democracy. You lose your democracy slowly, then suddenly. And that's what the Trump whisperer Steve Bannon told us back in 2016, that the objective, the mission of the Trump administration would be the deconstruction of the administrative state. And I think that went over the heads of a lot of people, but that's exactly what we're seeing right now.
There's a block of voters, a block of citizens who said not another term for Trump. Obviously, more said the opposite, but they were afraid that we would see more of the last administration in this term. Others said this is far worse. Others said it has to be far better because he's a one-term president. He's a lame duck. There are these three different ways of thinking about what was possible. In hype aside, news aside, fear aside, which one of those are we dealing with? Are we dealing with a Trump who ultimately won't have the power to advance his agenda, or are we dealing with the Trump who's going to be far worse than ever before, or is this just more of the same?
Well, I think the next couple of weeks will answer that question as we get a better sense of what the Supreme Court is going to decide as they are the ultimate arbiter of a number of these issues. But if you just put it in the context of what is he attempting to do, oh man, this is exponentially worse. This is exponentially worse.
I hear people, everyday people in the street, talk about our legitimate fear that he's not going to transfer power. I hear a legitimate concern that democracy isn't just under attack in the sense that the free press is under attack, or that, protest has been criminalized. Very real things. But it's like you said, the slow and then the quick. A lot of people are worried about the quick, that there's going to be a moment where he's just saying, I'm not going anywhere. How legitimate is that, given the realities of how our government works?
Well, it's interesting, because I had that conversation today with Ebony McMorris, and the point I made to her was, he may very well try to make that play, whether it's because she and I were talking about it in the context of martial law,
okay.
and I said, well, he may try to make that play, but I don't know that the folks in the Pentagon, with Hegseth and excluded, would actually back the play. But what I think, I think we're seeing a lot of trial balloons here,
for sure.
And this is why, again, I say the Supreme Court, the over the next couple of weeks, I think we'll get a much greater sense of whether or not his attempt to stack the court winds up playing in his favor, or whether those such as Roberts and, surprisingly, Amy Coney Barrett are pushing back. And let me give you a quick example of why I say this is a trial balloon. This issue with the deportation of the folks in El Salvador.
Yeah.
And many of us are focused on, these are Venezuelans that for some for some ungodly reason, they're sending Venezuelans to El Salvador. And the issue I think we need to be paying attention to is the fact that this is being done without due process.
Right.
I don't think this has as much to do with deporting Venezuelans to El Salvador as it does with testing due process. Because if Trump can get away with sending Venezuelans to El Salvador without due process, I believe we are next. This is a test to see how far can he push that due process issue. And look, my YouTube show is connecting the dots. So let's connect some dots. The first thing he does is he challenges birthright citizenship.
Yeah.
Which our ancestors gained citizenship through birthright citizenship in the 14th Amendment.
Right.
So then he goes and sends a bunch of Venezuelans to El Salvador, no due process, and that's the issue that the court is focused on now. Then you go back to and you look at the conversation that little Marco Rubio had with Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, when Bukele said, you can send your prisoners here. And little Marco said, no one has ever offered that to us. We'll take that under advisement.
Wow.
So these are the things that and then you go back to Steve Bannon's whole concept of flooding the zone, that they're putting so much stuff out there that people don't know where to turn and what to focus on. I'm telling folks, pay close attention to this due process issue because, as Gil Scott-Heron said, due process is overdue, and we could wind up becoming the victims of that test.
Ooh, that does. I mean, I appreciate your sober analysis and your honesty and your clarity, but I got to tell you, I'm more terrified than when I first asked the question. I mean,